here and start the time now, not before.
Let's see if this works. Okay, I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. I'm a petroleum engineer. I've got 37 years of experience. I went to school at Michigan Technological University and got an engineering degree there. I currently work for Trendwell Energy Corporation. We're located in Rockford, Michigan. Trendwell has been in business for about 35 years. We're a small family-run company that has been very successful in exploring for oil and gas in Michigan. I started my career with Texaco, worked with them, and then worked for other major oil and gas companies before coming to work for Trendwell. As Adam said earlier, there's been over 50,000 wells drilled in Michigan, and in Ottawa County, there's been about 1,088 wells drilled since 1939 here. And this county has produced about 2.2 million barrels of oil since that time, and about 6 BCF of gas. And BCF stands for billion cubic feet of gas. Okay, I'm going to speak a little bit about natural gas and oil, and then I was asked to talk about job and economic impacts for Michigan, and then talk a little bit more in depth about hydraulic fracturing. Natural gas, we talked about natural gas is one of the main components that has been looked for by these horizontal wells and hydraulic fracturing that have been talked about. The United States has been fortunate with the discoveries that have been made in Pennsylvania and Texas and Ohio in the various unconventional shales that Alan spoke about, with a lot of gas, and there's also natural gas liquids in there. The Bakken Shale in North Dakota primarily contains oil. We in the United States are able to produce about 98% of all the gas that we use. We're very fortunate. In Michigan oil and gas producers produce about 23% of all the gas that we use in this state. We're the 13th largest producer of natural gas, and also one of the largest, 14th, I believe, largest producer of oil in the country. Natural gas is a clean burning fuel. It's much cleaner than burning oil, burning coal, burning fuel oil, and such. We've got vast supplies of natural gas because of the drilling that's being done and production being done in Pennsylvania and other states in these unconventional shales. The price of natural gas has dropped drastically in the last few years, from a high of about $12 per million cubic feet of gas in, say, 4 years ago to about $3.50. $3.60 per MCF. So the gas that's being sold to you by your utilities is dropped by 3 to 4-fold. And there appears to be so much gas that we've been able to find or identify for future drilling that we can see low gas prices for U.S. consumers for quite some time. How is natural gas used in Michigan? Most of it, 30% of it's used for electric power generation by your utilities. 21% of it's for residential use, and then pretty much the rest is for commercial and industrial use. And most citizens in Michigan, about 80% of us use some form of natural gas for heating your homes, and water heaters and natural gas stoves and the like. Jobs in Michigan. Michigan oil and gas industry directly employs approximately 10,000 people for their jobs. And very strongly related companies that supply goods and services that we use quite a bit. There's another 23,000 jobs, and in all, about 163,000 jobs in Michigan are provided or supported by our industry. So, you know, most people, most friends and people that I know very rarely hear about the oil and gas industry in Michigan, but we're a pretty thriving industry here. We help provide a strong economy for Michigan, and our experience here has shown that we've been able to do it safely and environmentally responsibly. That comes along with working or having to work with companies like the Michigan Department of DEQ that Adam here represents here. The economic impact shows total labor income of coming from the oil and gas industry of $2.6 billion and a value-added economic output of about $5.7 billion. So it's not small. One thing I would like to point out, maybe township officials and county officials take note of this. Those 10,000 to 12,000 wells that were drilled in the Antrim Shale that were shown in the red belt line in northern Michigan that Adam showed, those are Antrim wells. Our company operates about 440 wells up there. We're not the largest producer, but we are one of the largest. And in last year, we paid over $350,000 just in property tax to the townships for assessment on the wells that we have and the production equipment that we use. If you prorate that number to the 10,000 or so other Antrim wells that other operators have out there, that amounts to over $8 million a year in property taxes that are paid to the townships. Right now, that's predominantly to Grand Traverse County, Otsego County, Montmorency County, and those three main counties. In 2012, over $100 million in state were paid to state royalty, fees, and tax revenues. And I'll talk a little bit about that more in just a minute here. Over $150 million were paid in royalties to over 8,000 private Michigan landowners from the oil or gas that came out of the wells from the properties that they owned or the mineral rights that they owned. One of the things that our industry is very proud of is that we're able to help contribute to Michigan's outdoor heritage and natural resources through a funding mechanism called the Natural Resource Trust Fund and State Parks Endowment Funds. And that was created back in the 1970s, a joint effort between our industry, legislation, and other conservation groups at that time. And we have contributed over $1.25 billion to state lands, parks, and outdoor recreation areas. Each year, we provide millions of dollars that are used in this state, that are used for purchasing like rails, trails, projects, additional dunes that are picked up, additions or improvements to state parks. Overall, in Ottawa County, there's been over 65 grants given, about $30 million given to projects such as the Holland State Park, to the Rosie Mound acquisition, Ball River acquisition. We had $3.3 million given to the North Ottawa Dunes acquisition, $2 million to the Olive Shores acquisition, and other monies to Pigeon River Greenway and many, many others that made up those 65 grants. We're very proud that we can be a part of this, and we were the source that allowed this funding to be out there so that we can have future acquisitions made to further our outdoor lands and parks in this state. So that covers the jobs and economics part that I was asked to talk about. Try and talk about natural fracturing now, or hydraulic fracturing. And again, this has been brought to the forefront, as Adam and Alan talked about, with these horizontal drilling, with hydraulic fracturing, opening up tight formations, predominantly in most states like Pennsylvania, Texas, and North Dakota are shales. And what we're talking about, this is the kind of rock that we are fracturing. This is shale for fracturing. Alan talked about A1 carbonate. This is the kind of rock that they are looking for in those wells for A1 carbonate wells. This is a core taken from a well in Kalkaska County. It was about 6,500 feet deep. This hole here, that wasn't natural. That's something we had done in a laboratory that took it out. So this is what your oil and gas comes out of for those wells. And this shale rock, if you came up and look at it, you'd wonder how in the world can you get anything out of it. But there, in these areas that have been talked about, there's lots of natural gas in this type of rock. Or it's a source rock for other formations. There's a sandstone taken from a well in Texas. Not too many cores are taken of sandstones here in Michigan. So that's what we're talking about, the kind of rocks we're talking about fracturing and producing from. What hydraulic fracturing isn't is not the drilling end of things. Many times, natural or hydraulic fracturing is incorrectly identified with drilling a well. When there's a drilling rig on a well, there's no hydraulic fracturing going on. In fact, before any hydraulic fracturing of formations happen, that drilling rig is gone, and we either use a small rig that looks like maybe your common water well drilling unit, or sometimes we don't even have a rig out there. We're able to bring in some trucks with wire spooled wire on it that we can use to get the fracturing done. It is a process during the completion operations of the well that we pump under high pressure, very high pressure, predominantly water, about 98% water, that has sand in it, and about 1%, maybe half to 1% of about 12 other substances and chemicals to help that process go along. Here's a picture of a fracturing operation going on a vertical well. It is, like you see, there's no drilling rig out there, there's no big completion rig out there. The wellhead, actual well is right here, and this contraption on top here is what we call the wellhead, or a Christmas tree. What you can't see in the background are there's a lot of trucks, there's a lot of tanks out there that are holding the water. They're further back, and that water and sand is brought in from those tanks through these lines here, pumped up through here and down to the well. And I'll show you a little bit more details about this. Everything that we have water exposed to, 1 minute, this is very tough. I'm going to go on. Real quickly, I don't have time to talk. Here's a picture of Michigan with all the 50,000 wells showing on it that have been drilled. Here in Ottawa County, the wells that we're talking about, here's that well in Ionia. That well was plugged 2 weeks ago. It failed in its attempt to find any economical gas. Another well here was drilled and completed by Devon. That well was plugged. The wells I believe that we're hearing about is this well here, permitted by Rosetta, same company that drilled this well and plugged it. And then you've got a couple more wells up there that, to my knowledge, that's the only activity that's going on around this area. Here's a picture of a vertical well, and go on. What we do is, I'll come back to that one. I'll show you a horizontal well here. And what I'd like to point out here is that when we drill a well, we set casing and cement it all the way to surface to protect the groundwater level. We are required by DEQ laws that we cannot have our casing set anywhere in glacial drift where your water drinking aquifers are. We have to have that cased off. We have another string of pipe that does the same thing, so you've got a second string, and then your production pipe that goes down here, it is also cased and cemented. So in this case, you're seeing 3 strings of pipe, 3 strings of cement that are protecting the groundwater. This, in general, is anywhere from 100 feet to about 600 feet deep. We have to run this at least 100 feet below there. In general, we run it about 150 to 200 feet. The depths that most of the wells with high volume frac jobs are happening in this area down here, which is about 7,000 feet deep. They are covered by very many impermeable layers of rock. When we do the fracture treatments, these fractures go anywhere from 50 to about 300 feet vertically up and vertically down. And then they're confined by the heavy weight of the shales and other impermeable rocks that are above it. This shows the casing that is run right here, the open well bore. We have to go in and do what we call perforating to open up the casing and the rock to get our frac fluid in there. Once we do that, we pump this hydraulic frac fluid in, and you get these very, very fine fractures that we then prop open with sand. If we didn't have that sand, and we took the pressure off, those fractures would seal up. So that sand is in there, propping open those fractures, and those fractures are probably no thicker than a width of your hair. I'm trying to speed this up here. This shows real quickly, again, a little closer detail of our intermediate casing, our surface casing that protects the water, intermediate casing that protects the water, and then a lower section with your production casing and cement. Talk just a little bit, very close to the end, talk about the water use that we have here. We use about 99% water. We use sand. With the sand, we have about 99.5% water and sand. And then the rest are additives, usually less than 12 additives that we have. Acids, friction reducers, surfactants to help the water go into the fractures, chemicals that help keep the sand propped up in the fluid so it doesn't break out and plug out quick, and then other chemicals to help prevent corrosion of our drill pipe and completion steel tubulars that we have in there. Just about every one of the additives that we use are chemicals that you normally use in your household, cleaning fluids and other chemicals that you use in your house. And eventually, wash them down your drains. Here, we pump them into the formation, and we will get some of this back. It will flow back. We flow